we've told our kids to go find a career in a different industry because unlike 30 years ago, there's no future for trucking in Canada. The sole reason for this last statement is summarized by these two words, Driver Inc. But our government has gone too far. They are allowing individuals and markets to break every conceivable law to line their own pockets. Tax evasion, labor and immigration abuse, crime and corruption, and the list goes on. This is the tip of the iceberg. We're in a crisis, and if nothing is done today, this lawlessness will decimate our industry, and this contagious disease will spread out of control throughout all sectors. And our government, I would say, is complicit in this. By not doing anything, by not enforcing your own legislation, you've been saying and are continuing to say, Driver Inc. is okay, it's acceptable to break the laws of our land.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to all of our witnesses for coming and being brutally honest with you. I have to say, after 10 years of successive Liberal failures on this file, your Canadian lives and livelihoods are at risk. I think you've painted that picture. Conservatives want to restore your industry, restore safety to our streets, and crack down on these bad actors, including the people that are allowing this to happen. Now, I'm going to start with asking Mr. McKee on behalf of the Atlantic Provinces Trucking Association. In our last committee meeting, we heard how the Liberal government policies, like on immigration, were fueling Driver Inc. Is that happening in your experience? And second to that, you mentioned Crown corporations and government contracting with Driver Inc. Is that provincial government? Is that federal government? Please give us some concrete examples.
Thank you. So I will say that in terms of labor fraud in the Atlantic provinces, the preliminary data that we're looking at it's not as prevalent in the Atlantic provinces as it is in other provinces in this country. We also have preferred employer programs at the provincial level in the Atlantic provinces, which after employers go through a robust screening process, they are put to the front of the line for provincial nominee programs, for the Atlantic immigration programs, and for the temporary foreign worker program. So we feel that while there is evidence of immigration fraud and indentured servitude in this industry, and I'm not disputing that, we feel in the Atlantic provinces it's not as prevalent. Where we're really seeing the issue is these fleets are coming in from other jurisdictions to basically, I would say, to be blunt, poach lanes from our compliant carriers.
Okay, sir, and you said Crown corporations and governments are utilizing Driver Inc. and also fueling it. Can you give me a concrete example, please?
I wouldn't say I have, a concrete example. It's anecdotal at this point, but we really feel that, there is not a screening process with the federal or provincial governments to ensure that these Crown Corps are not being utilizing this model. And we do know from many of our members that Canada Post is one organization that seems to be utilizing Driver Inc. companies when possible in order to save money. And we all know Canada Post is under financial pressure.
Yeah, we're going to need to talk about that more, but I have limited time. Wayne Long is the Secretary of State responsible from CRA. He's someone who says he understands business. He's from Atlantic Canada, from New Brunswick. Have you met with him about your concerns? Has he expressed any concern for your industry?
We have not. We've met with several MPs from both sides of the floor on this issue, but we have not met with Mr. Long.
What would you tell Mr. Long right now when it comes to the CRA, what he needs to do today?
We need to immediately lift the moratorium on T4As. We need to start creating a paper trail so that we can begin to track these guys, the companies and the drivers who may be shirking their tax obligations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Albus, and I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Muse. Mr. Muse, the floor is yours. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is to Mr. Bylsma. The Liberals have talked about cracking down on this for years, and the problem is just festering. Actually, it's a crisis point now, and Conservatives want to fix this. When you talk about your business that's not going to succeed to a second generation, and you broke down the numbers very nicely, which I think paints a very stark picture. My constituency office is 30 minutes from your shop, and so I know in that area that this is a huge issue in Ontario and throughout Ontario. What is the single biggest failure of federal enforcement that has allowed this to persist for this long?
Thank you very much. And through the chair, the biggest thing that would impact my presentation was mostly about the numbers. So I think the biggest thing the federal government can do is through the CRA, and as my colleague to my left said, is lift the moratorium on the T4As. What we need to do is start allowing a paper trail to occur so the government can find the bad actors. And it's not a matter of spending more money as a government, because the billions of dollars that will be collected by hiring the necessary staff to go track these people down and enforce it would pay for itself and then some. There'd be a significant return on investment for the government to go after that direction.
So would you say this isn't a problem of, a solution? You've mentioned one very obvious one, and there are others, and I know there were others in the CTA report as well, and the OTA has been advocating. So is this a problem of political will? Is it bureaucratic inertia? Or is it simply the government doesn't understand your industry? I mean, you painted a picture of the economics of it.
I believe, and this is my personal opinion, it's a matter of a lack of political will. We've been chasing this up the chain for probably a decade. This started in 2011 when they put the moratorium on T4As, and it's gotten out of control. Some crafty lawyers and accountants have figured out ways to work around some of the rules around PSBs and that type of a thing to create this lawless portion of our industry.
So it's as your colleague said, fraud.
Correct. Absolute fraud.
Thank you very much.
That have brought testimony forward. I'd like to start with Mr. Bilesma. Is that okay, sir? All right, thank you. Your testimony was excellent and heartbreaking. I heard the story about it not going to be a generational business, and although conservatives will always want our highways safe, I come from a generational business. And there's nothing more heartbreaking than when a leader says that. So I just needed to make that statement. You said, sir, oh, and by the way, thank you for being the chair of the Ontario Transportation. You actually represent Morris Transportation as well as Wolverine Transportation back down from my riding. You said in your testimony, sir, or one of the answers, that you've been chasing up the chain for likely a decade. And a decade, ironically, is 10 years of the Liberals being in power. My question for you is, the association, have you met with the ministers? Have you met with government officials? Have they reached out to you? And if so, what have they said?
Absolutely. I would say the Ontario Trucking Association and the Canadian Trucking Alliance have great relationships with all levels of government. And right from the Ministry of Transportation and Finance and everyone else, they've all been made aware of this over the last 10 years. There's no one of substance that actually can do something about it that doesn't know about it. To get it granular and exactly who knows what, you'd have to ask our staff who's at the back of the room if you want to talk to them after this dialogue.
Okay, so everybody's made aware of it, but no action has been done.
Correct. We're starting, like I mentioned, the 5 things in Ontario. That there's a lot more going on than that, but those are the most, I would say, effective things that we're seeing the greatest results from. And so that's why I just wanted to list that, because there needs to be more done, but I think it needs to be in collaboration with both the federal and every provincial level.
Okay, thank you. And this question is for both yourself and for Mr. McKee. So is there a certain sector of bad actors? Meaning, is there a certain consumable that is shipped in a certain sector that there's more bad actors in than others? My thought process is, we hear yesterday that Donald Trump is saying now we're going to take a whole bunch of your auto away from you. And so that's a whole bunch of transport jobs that aren't going to be happening when every part that for every car goes back and forth across the busiest international border crossing 7 times. So that's a whole bunch of jobs that will be lost. Is there a certain sector that needs to be targeted?
If I may, I can speak to that very quickly. So anecdotally, for my members, we notice it, they're most heavily impacted. It would be what we would call general freight or dry van. So your dry 53-foot trailer and refrigerated. So we're not seeing a proliferation of these companies so much in the heavy and oversized sector of our industry and the more complex loads. We're seeing it with the general freight, I don't want to throw out names because I don't want to paint someone with a brush wrongly, but grocery suppliers or what have you that are transporting loads from Ontario to Atlantic Canada and vice versa. We're seeing a little bit of it infiltrate the ports as well. We service major ports in Atlantic Canada, but for the most part, I would say it is the dry van and the refrigerated sectors who are suffering the most. And my colleagues may disagree in their own experience.
Mr. Bilesma?
Yes. As far as you mentioning folks like Wolverine and Morris, I think On Freight is down there as well. When I speak to those colleagues, they feel like there's a lot of this misclassification and abuse going on in the automotive sector. I play in the general freight markets. It's less than truckload. I'll move furniture. I'll move nuts and bolts. I'll move kitchen cabinetry or whatever. So it's always something different. But we do see that as well in the general freight market as well. So I would say dry van. Some of our colleagues that are into more specialized tanker and oversized, they're starting to see it a little bit, but not to the degree that it is in the dry van.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
As a European, I am a European,
European.
actually.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
oh.
I'm Irish citizen. Yeah, so there you
welcome.
go.
Welcome.
Speaking as a European,
WTF.
How many kids did you molest with Jeffrey Epstein?
More than just elbows.
and as the most European of the non-European countries.
Being aware of what potential conflicts of interest you
What
sought
possible
to avoid.
conflict would you have, Stephanie? Stephanie, I'm complying with the rules. I'm complying with the rules in advance. Confiance.
These are Muslim values. These are Canadian values.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations, you're spending more money on taxes than on food, clothing, and shelter combined.
Hey, that's something everyone can enjoy.
All right, gang, thank you all very much for watching. Aaron, Canadian Looney, like, share, subscribe. Smash that subscribe. We're trying to grow this thing. Canadian Federal Politics. Get yours right here. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.